Hi there and welcome to the first ever MMA Flashback podcast. I'm one of your hosts, James, and alongside me is my co-host, Livio.
Hello.
And this is going to be a brand new mixed martial arts podcast, which we haven't seen out there on the market just yet. Looking back at old events, something that personally I haven't seen out there. Have you?
No, I haven't.
So basically we'll be looking at old events, whether it be UFC, Pride, WEC, Elite XC, Affliction, anything. We will get it done.
Events that we like, and hopefully events that you guys like as well, that have stuck with you, whether it's because the fights were amazing or whether because it's the card itself is just memorable in your mind for whatever reason.
Yeah. Throughout, we're going to be doing news reviews. We're going to be doing predictions of the fights, and we're going to be doing reviews as well of some of the cards that have been going on recently. As well, say we go to fights, potentially could be doing some content there as well, just to give you guys a feel of what it's like at an MMA event if you haven't been. So, Livio, what's the first thing? Just to announce as well, the first one we're going to be doing, UFC 178 is the first flashback card that we're going to be doing. In my opinion, it's one of the bigger events that UFC have put on recently. It's one of the better events as well. Pay-per-view wise, it didn't do too many numbers, but at the same time, it was a fantastic event.
No, you said recently there. It was 4 years ago.
Yeah, which just
It's crazy when you think about the fact that that card was recent in terms of on the grand scale of things, but 4 years ago it's a long time, and we had so many events since.
And the fact that the other day I was sitting there and Dan Hardy versus GSP was 8 years ago.
Oh my goodness. The landscape has changed. The landscape has changed, and arguably, partly due to this card.
Yeah, which we potentially might get into later.
There we go. So we're going to start off with the news.
Yeah,
today.
The news is going to be the first segment. Obviously, there hasn't been any UFC for the last 2 weeks. I've got to wait till next week for that big, massive card that we're going to be going on about later.
Nice little break.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it.
In this fight.
Well, UFC hadn't had a break for the whole of 2018 leading up to this fight.
It was tough. It was tough.
It was tough, but it was great.
Definitely. First news thing.
Yep.
Because it's recent, still fresh in our minds. Media conference or the press conference call for 223 happened yesterday.
I'll tell you what, Khabib was on fire.
Khabib is slowly becoming a hilarious fighter to watch.
Yeah, the trash talk was
on point.
It was there.
English was better than Tony's.
Yeah, as he said.
He wanted to make sure everyone understood that his English was better than Tony's.
I think he even said his Spanish was better than Tony's.
It was good, man. He was confident. He was funny. He was articulate, which is something that you fear with Khabib because you think English is his second language is going to be tough. But I mean, he stuck it to Tony.
Yeah,
Tony was a little bit
really enjoyed watching it. So we just finished talking, didn't we, last night? And then the first thing that happened, like about 10 minutes later, I just text you going, "Oh, we missed the conference call."
We got back on that, buddy, though. We had to get on that.
We had to get on that press conference call. It's probably one of the more memorable ones.
Definitely. I mean,
I think up there is Brock Lesnar with the "I'm a jacked white boy." But this one was memorable. One of my favourite parts was Khabib telling Tony about the Reebok contract. He can get him a pair of shoes if he wants, saying Tony, the interim lightweight champ.
He went after the man's money. He pulled no punches. He also mentioned he didn't hide away from the tiramisu.
No, yeah, he really didn't care.
He made fun of. I mean, at this point, it was a while ago, but asked Tony why Tony missed their fight in 2014 or something.
Well, I mean, the man had blood in his lungs.
Khabib says tiramisu's better than blood. I couldn't believe it. He just went after him, and
he didn't care, did he? He was ruthless.
He really didn't, and that's the way it's got to be. I've said it before. I like trash talk, and I like fighters that trash talk. It's the way you have to sell a fight. Like, get excited. We were already excited for this fight.
Yeah, without a doubt. It's the best skill matchup that the UFC will ever put on.
Definitely.
Well, that have ever put on so far.
Now I'm getting even more excited. You know, like, it's just tough not to be hyped for this fight, for this card in general. But I mean, that fight itself, goodness.
And the crazy part of it all was Joanna and Rose were in the call the whole time.
I know, two of the best fighters in the world,
and they didn't even get a question. They got about 2 max. So yeah, crazy card. Cannot wait for that. That conference call just made it 100 times better.
Yes. Now,
next piece of news is something that personally I can't wait for. Personally, I want to get tickets for because it is probably going to be one of the better UK cards we've ever seen. Easily. UFC Liverpool was first announced. It's the first time that UFC have gone to Liverpool. And in my opinion, this could be
Better than the London card.
yeah, something a little bit special. I'm getting little bits of hints of UFC Dublin.
Now, we were recording this podcast, and they announced officially the headliner,
Stephen Thompson.
Darren Till. Oh boy.
Wow, number 1 versus number 7. What a fight. Stephen Thompson, first fight since the Masvidal fight.
Yes, which he won, but obviously it's exciting, man.
Yeah, it's such a massive fight. The undercard as well, a lot of that's been announced. Lena Landsberg versus Gina Mazzani. Eric Spicely versus Darren Stewart, something I'm really looking forward to watching. Arnold Allen versus Mads Burnell. Allen, another really good fighter. I think that was rebooked from UFC London because Burnell had to pull out, I'm pretty sure. Jason Knight versus Makwan Amikani. That's a big fight as well. Bradley Scott versus Salim Tuhari. That's the fight that was rebooked. My apologies. Trevor Scott versus Elias Theodoro.
The guy that you liked.
Yeah. Tom Breeze versus Daniel Kelly. That is a good fight. And Neil Magny versus Gunnar Nelson is the co-main
really good
event.
fight.
And then Stephen Thompson versus Darren
God.
Till. Wow.
Possible title. I mean, if it wasn't for the fact that, because obviously they're rumors for the
Interim.
If it weren't for that, possible title eliminator, man.
Yeah. I mean, I still think personally it probably will be a title eliminator. I think they'll probably fight the interim champ.
I hope it doesn't. I feel like Woodley doesn't deserve
because I think Woodley's out because he's out for a while still. I think.
I mean, I don't know exactly how long he's going to be out for, but I feel bad for the guy.
Yeah, I do feel bad for him, but at the same time, I think if he's injured, just have him fight in a 3-round fight. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. I mean, fuck it. The guy's a decent fighter. Not too fussed though, because you're getting this fight.
Yeah, what a fight!
What more could you ask for?
What a fight! The stylistically matchup,
yeah,
it's fantastic. Darren Till was good on the ground. He's good on the feet. Stephen Thompson's good on the feet. He's got great takedown defense. It's the perfect matchup to make.
It's a decent matchup. It's a good test.
Yeah, it really.
If he wins this fight, then there's no question. I mean, Wonderboy arguably won the first Woodley fight. You can't really say that the guy doesn't deserve to be in title contention if he wins this fight.
And the crazy thing is, Darren Till, we forget he's still unbeaten.
Yeah,
he's never been beat.
No one. He has one contest.
He has a draw.
Oh, there we go.
But he's never been beat.
Loss, so
yeah, Darren Till's never been
young
beat.
as well. So
and I'm pretty sure that draw only came about because he got deducted a point for shorts holding.
Either way, I mean, it's not a loss. So
yeah,
it's a big fight, big guy.
About 18-0-1, I think it is.
They're building up for Darren Till.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell he is going to be one of the next. He's the next big star from England.
He talks good. He talks slick.
He's got the Brazilian following as well.
Yeah, exactly. Can trash talk in 2 languages. There's not many people that can do that.
Yeah, can you imagine him and Colby Covington?
Oh my goodness, that would have been the fight, man. I'm telling you, that would have been amazing. Him just cussing out Colby in Brazilian.
But at the same time, I don't think we can complain about Darren Till versus
no,
Thompson.
There's no complaints coming from my end. There's no complaints. That is a decent fight.
But yeah, I mean, you got Gunnar Nelson and Neil Magny as well on there.
A nice little round battle right there.
Yeah,
a nice fight between 2 guys who were both very well versed on the floor.
And then, yeah, it's just Michael Bisping saying he wants to fight on the Liverpool card.
Can you imagine?
If that happens, then.
Can you imagine? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised because I don't think they're going to go back to the UK or come back to the UK this year. It's very tough if they do a 3rd UK.
I mean,
card.
If they did, then
it'd be amazing.
Cool.
It's tough.
UK fans have been spoiled this year. Bama putting on some good events.
A little bit.
We haven't
been. We deserve more, man. We haven't been spoiled. We have to stay up friggin' till 6 o'clock in the morning to watch some of their fight. Spoiled. We deserve more.
But yeah, another UFC card that got announced is UFC Chile. We've only had a couple of fights announced on that one. Santiago Ponzinibbio is going to be taking on Kamal Usman.
Another big contender fight right there.
Yeah, another. I mean,
both rumored at one point to fight Till.
Yeah.
As was Gunnar Nelson. But
something that's really interesting as well is the fact that at the beginning of the month we had like no welterweights fighting, and now we've got Usman Ponzinibbio, potentially RDA versus Covington, Till versus Thompson officially announced. Nelson versus Magny.
Some big changes coming up in that division.
Yeah, top 10 is really going to be going
at it. The champ sits out injured.
Yeah,
it's a fun one.
And a co-main event as well for that one. Shogun Hua is going to be taking on Volkov Ozdemir.
Shogun going back up for that title challenge.
He's on a 3-fight win streak, I think, as well.
Don't count him until that. Well, I don't know.
Can you imagine Shogun knocks out Daniel Cormier to end his career?
Oh my goodness, that would be
both men end their career
I
on
would
that night.
be so hurt. I love Daniel Cormier so much. DC is one of my favorite fighters. I would be distraught. if that
DC
was-
gets knocked out by
Oh
Steve
my
Hare and
goodness.
Shogun back to back.
Oh my goodness! Don't say that. My heart's hurting just thinking about it.
Next piece of news.
So this one's slightly upsetting, slightly annoying. Josh Barnett, not annoying in the sense that it's got a nice ending to it, but Josh Barnett was cleared by USADA.
So 15 months ago, Barnett, I think, tested positive after a fight. I think it was against Roy Nelson.
Which he's had problems in the past.
4 times he's failed a drug test.
And I know that we've joked before this news came out.
Yeah, that was because it was just the other day, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Sunday.
And unfortunately, we were part of it. It was guilty by...
Association, kind of.
Yeah, it was never proved that he was guilty, but it was guilty by accusation as opposed to guilty by proof. And now
the
it's
man's
come
been
out.
cleared.
But he's wasted... I mean, he's, what, 39, 40?
Yeah,
15
he's
months off is
higher up
tough
in his
to go.
career. The thing is with heavyweights, the later they get, the better they get, which is
Sure.
really weird.
But the man's not been able to make money for...
Well, he has been making
he's
money.
wrestled, hasn't he?
No, he's wrestled with Impact Wrestling. He's commentating on New Japan as well, on Access TV. So he's doing a lot of active things inside the wrestling world. And it's the same with other UFC fighters that have tested positive before. If you look at Matthew Riddle, previously used to fight for UFC, one of the biggest up-and-coming wrestlers right now, yeah. Tom Lawler as well recently has been going into it. Don Fry.
But it's just tough because you see it happening more and more often now where these guys are getting... He's slightly different because he's not been given an extra suspension, because usually even if you're cleared, you're given a suspension for being negligent. He's not been given the negligence.
But now he's cleared to fight.
Now he's cleared to fight. But the issue is that this keeps happening. I mean, we've seen it with
Tim Means.
Tim Means. We've seen it with Yoel. Yoel got cleared.
Yeah.
We've seen it with a bunch of these fighters that now...
Even John Jones at one point.
Although Jones is still technically, in a bit of a fishy situation. But there's a cloud over these guys, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it's really annoying to see. I like USADA, don't get me wrong.
It's
I think
good for
they've
the
done
sport.
great for the sport,
It's good
but at
for
the
the
same
sport.
time, they're fucking up a lot.
Definitely. It's tough to see these fighters that should be fighting not be able to fight. Maybe he gets released and
I think
goes on to better things.
I think Barnett stays in the heavyweight division, though. I'd personally like to see him fight
He's not a bad inclusion to the heavyweight division. The heavyweight division's...
Him and Curtis Blades, I think, would be a really good stylistic matchup. Barnett is very good on the ground and good with his wrestling. Curtis Blades is the exact same. I think it'd be a fun fight to make. Wouldn't be the best stylistic matchup, but it'd be fun. The best matchup for the fans.
In terms of excitement. Yeah, but
stylistically, it's a good fight to make.
decent one.
Going into then one of our final news stories then, Anthony Joshua has been apparently offered a 500 million fight contract with Zuffa. Not with UFC, with Zuffa.
Specifically for boxing rather than MMA, just because I know that there was some confusion out there on the internet. What this suggests to me is maybe Dana White's tapping out of MMA somewhat. Maybe he's thinking boxing's the future.
Yeah, I mean, he saw it with Conor. The pay-per-view market's there, but at the same time, is Anthony Joshua the draw that Conor McGregor is? Probably.
Definitely. I think
He's the heavyweight champ, but is he breaking million pay-per-view record buys? No.
No, I think depending on the matchups, I feel like depending on the matchups, maybe if he's marketed correctly. But it's difficult because we don't do pay-per-view hits here. I mean, we do.
Well, Anthony
not in
Joshua's
the
always
same
on
way.
box office,
Yeah,
Sky box office, and that doesn't ever break a million.
no. In America, it's just standard. I mean, we don't like having to pay for fights, unfortunately.
We never have
Even when
really.
it's 20 quid,
Yeah,
we still don't like it. I mean, in America, they shell out 100 quid to watch.
McGregor Mayweather.
Exactly.
And that broke, what, 5 mil, was it?
Goodness knows where it broke, but it broke some numbers.
Still mental. But yeah, would you like to... personally, a fight that I would like to see is Anthony Joshua and Francis Ngannou in the octagon.
We spoke about this. I think Ngannou probably wrestles him.
I mean,
Which
I
would be
think
amazing to
Ngannou
watch.
wouldn't. Mark Hunt versus Joshua. There you go. I think Mark Hunt would just kickbox the shit out of him.
Oh my goodness. Be a crazy thing to watch.
Alistair.
Now, to round off the news, I mean, before we round off the news, Uberim versus Anthony Joshua.
Oh, Uber.
Battle of the bodies right there, fella. Battle of the bodies right
In
there.
a kickboxing match, not just boxing, so
Oh
no
my
ground, kickboxing. Because
You got to give it to
Uberim won the K1.
Oh my goodness.
He won the K1 Grand Prix.
He's a tough motherfucker. To round off the news, I've got a bit of a weird one for you. There's a porn site that will be live streaming an MMA event for us.
And what's the main event on that fight?
So it's Rico Suave Rodriguez,
Former UFC heavyweight champ, may
and
I add.
Alex the Spartan Nicholson,
Again, former UFC fighter.
will be contending in a main event, or in the main event of this Cam Soda Legends porn / MMA event.
But what's the controversial part of this main event?
So the controversial part of this is that for the first time ever, you can interact directly with the fight, which for me is crazy. You can tip the fighters, and they will then perform special moves.
Or moves how they get paid.
I mean, I hope they get paid, just period. And I hope they're not waiting on
looking at Rodriguez's
people
record
that I mean, let's be honest, people that are watching porn on a free campsite probably don't have much spare money. So I doubt they're tipping these fighters just to see them do a spinning backflip.
I mean, who pays for porn?
Exactly. I mean, it might be on a paid porn website, and those people are probably loaded, because if you're paying for porn, then. But it's a tough one. Also to note on that card rather, is one of everyone's favourite MMA fighters, Charles Crazy Horse Bennett.
And I mean, it was a bit obvious he was going to fight on something like this, wasn't it?
I mean, it wouldn't make sense if. I mean, you hear the words porn site MMA event, you think
Charles
Bennett.
Bennett.
I mean, you think this man's name, innit? What more can you say?
Without a doubt. But
Craziness.
is that it for the news?
That's everything.
So that's going to be it for the news then. We're going to go into our next segment. We're going to go into the MMA flashback card. Obviously, we said earlier it's going to be UFC 178. So yeah, we'll go ahead and go into that one now. Right, moving into our next segment then. We're going to be going ahead and looking at the flashback card. Obviously, we said we're going to be doing this. We're going to be going ahead and looking at UFC 178 today. Johnson versus Carrier. So, Livio, what did you think of the overall card? In my opinion, it was really fun.
It was. It's almost as hard when you're looking at cards only 4 years ago. And how good they were and how stacked they were. And then now looking at cards and thinking that we get like 3 massive cards a year and the rest of them are decent cards and we'll watch them. But not quite as...
Well, this is like one of their massive cards at this point.
Yes.
Obviously, the week after's card was absolutely amazing. Gunnar Nelson versus Rick Story was the event after. Obviously, was advertised. I ain't going to go back and look how many times it was advertised, but it was advertised a lot of times throughout the night. And, well, 178 was special.
It was.
Top to bottom, every fight had a name in it.
You had people that were names at the time, people that have become names now.
Yeah.
And it just...
And were names in the past as
yeah,
well.
and then were names in the past. And really, really decent fight. I mean, we spoke about what it was originally meant to be. And what fell through.
Yeah.
But in the end, I mean, not a bad card. Had some big storylines with obviously Dom coming back.
Yeah.
And
Conor McGregor, the rise.
Basically was maybe the fight that pushed them over the edge in terms of mainstream popularity.
I think that Brandao helped.
Definitely.
But
the Silver fight obviously is there. But in terms of, I feel like the public started taking, not just MMA fans, but maybe the general public started to take notice of him, and obviously elevated the sport, period, if we're being honest.
So looking at the event as well, so the live gate, they got $2.2 million. What do you think the buy rate was for this card?
I think you said it before, so I'm not going to cheat and give you the answer, because I think you've asked me before. I think it was like 250, 200?
205,000 pay-per-view buys.
Does not sound like a lot.
Looking at it now, you had Conor McGregor, Demetrius Johnson, Donald Cerrone, Eddie Alvarez.
Wonder Boy.
Yeah. The TV ratings, though, for the Fox Prelims cards, that got 697,000 on there. So,
I mean, even that's not terribly good numbers.
No, like now, they get average of 1 million.
That's crazy to think. But, I mean, we say so much about what people like Conor have done for the sport. He definitely elevated it as well.
Yeah.
To think that 205 back then would have probably been considered half decent. Now it's considered...
Well, we've got to remember this was only like 4 years ago. So not even 4, 3.5. So it weren't too far away.
No.
I remember this like it was yesterday. Like I'm sitting there like, oh yeah, I remember this fight.
We were speaking about that.
And then I'm sitting there like, oh, I'm old.
It's 4 years ago.
I'm getting old now.
It's 4 years ago. You would not have thought it. I think mainly because a lot of these people are still, or most of these people are still fighting.
Yeah. The live attendance though was 10,544. And what if Dana White is to be believed, there was 15% was Irish fans.
I think in the stream, in the show itself, when Conor was being interviewed, they said that 10% of all tickets were sold, not to Irish fans, specifically from Ireland,
Just crazy.
10% of the people had come from Ireland to Vegas, was it?
Yeah.
From Ireland to Vegas to watch this one-man fight, basically.
Ridiculous.
There's other people, but I mean, let's be real.
They were there for
They were there for him.
You
and
hear throughout the night, the olays.
You can hear it, you can see it.
So just before we go into the card, I just want to talk about the cancelled bouts that happened. So originally the main event was meant to be John Jones versus Alexander Gustafsson.
Shame it fell through.
Yeah, Gustafsson torn his meniscus, got pulled out. Then we had originally, which was meant to be the co-main event before Eddie Alvarez stepped in. Before another person stepped in, before he got pulled out. We had Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Donald Cerrone. Could you imagine that fight?
Big fight.
Because Donald Cerrone is no slouch on the ground. He has probably more submission wins than knockouts, I think. But he has got a lot of submission wins.
He's definitely very good. I think you were saying you mentioned Donald in his prime. That was prime Cerrone against. I mean, Khabib's always been good, but prime Cerrone versus undefeated as he still is, Khabib would have been a decent fight to watch.
Then we had John Jones versus Daniel Cormier originally announced. This is the one where Jones puts the fist on Cormier. Cormier goes down.
Such hype for this fight.
I think who was in the background? Was it Sean Shelby?
Possibly. Whoever it was got taken out.
Yeah,
pretty quickly.
He's dead. He's up in the background
on the floor. Massive hype for this fight.
Which is crazy. And it's a shame that it fell through. Obviously, we saw it in January the next year.
And we saw it one more time after that.
Yeah.
Both decent fights. I mean, that first fight was a very, very good fight.
And the second one I really enjoyed as well.
Definitely. Didn't like to see DC get finished that way, though.
Same time, I think it cemented Jones as the best of all time, in my opinion. But then you've got the case of GSP and the two belts. I'm not going to go into it. Another fight which was meant to happen was Bobby Green versus Jorge Masvidal. Obviously, Bobby Green ended up stepping up to try and fight Donald Cerrone. But then there was an opponent switch again. So, Masvidal missed out on the Bobby Green fight.
You forget.
Yeah. He was an okay fighter at 55. Obviously, he beat the likes of Chiesa. But
definitely coming into stride now. At 70. I mean, what more can you say about Masvidal?
Bobby Green's a great fighter as well. That would have been a great fight. Both brawlers. It would have been good to see that one. And then Cerrone versus Green again would have been a good fight.
Yeah. But none of the fights that we got were bad. They were all good.
But I think Bobby Green as well at that point was coming off a big win streak. I think he beat Josh Thompson at that point, and I think he was on a win streak before that as well. So Bobby Green was a rising star around the 2014 era. Yeah.
How times can change.
I mean, what was his last fight? He fought Lando Vannata, and then he fought someone else as well. But going into the main portion of this segment, then we're going to be going ahead and looking at the card itself. So, Olivia, what was the first fight pass preview?
So we started off with Manvel Gamburian. Hopefully, I didn't absolutely destroy that name. Very possibly that I destroyed that name. The guy that trained with Ronda, who we'll get into a little bit more.
Big Edmund.
Exactly. Versus Cody Gibson, who none of the fights, I think he's a champion in some other organization now. Some like island fights or something crazy like that.
Somewhere
else.
But Gibson looked really good, didn't he?
He did look really good. Somewhat unlucky in
getting tapped out onto the guillotine. Manny's got a great guillotine.
I think it was 4 seconds left in the fight.
Yeah, 4:56 of round 2.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, I thought Cody Gibson did really well. I thought he won the first round.
Definitely.
He had some good right hands. He kept getting caught at Gambirian.
He was a tough guy. Gambirian looked like he was just sort of trying to get for that one, trying to go for that one shot finish, basically. Which, I mean, is great if you have that one shot power, which I'm sure he thought he did, because he used to fight like 155
lightweight, because he originally, the Ultimate Fighter, season 4 or 5 finale, fought Nate Diaz, lost because of shoulder injury. And the fact that he was fought at 135.
Friggin' tank. So he clearly got that power, so he was trying to wind that up. But that leaves you open, leaves you exposed. You get picked apart. And it showed in this fight.
Yeah, in the fight against Gibson. Gambirian, though, he became the the 6th man to win in 3 different weight classes, I think Joe Rogan said after the fight.
Yeah.
Fair play to him. Gets another win with a guillotine. But the post-fight call-out was personally what made me laugh the most.
It was amazing.
Manny Gambirian called Ronda Rousey over.
She didn't look like she wanted to be there.
She was there in her dress like, what's going on?
She felt like she owed it to him, probably.
She was probably only there because she was scouting the Nunes Zingano fight.
Definitely.
And her teammate was in there, so Edmund, the big man that he is, probably called her in because he needs any opportunity he can get to get anywhere close to Rousey.
I mean, that's basically all he has, to be honest. Just any opportunity to show her off.
I mean, look, he ruined Jake Ellenberger. He ruined Travis Brown.
It's I mean, it's easy to rag on the man in hindsight, but we were all in that aura of Ronda back in the day when she was just fucking up people left and right, basically.
But yeah, he calls Brian Caraway out. Shoulder, got his hand around Rousey. Yeah. Calling Brian Caraway out, obviously known as the husband of Miesha Tate. Now not together. But yeah.
Trying to get
that big money fight.
Trying to hype the fights up. Not a bad thing to do, though. I mean,
yeah. I mean, you always got to call someone out afterwards.
You do.
You always got to get your next fight.
I mean, there was beef there at the time, mainly between Ronda and Miesha, but I'm sure the camps probably didn't like each other either.
So then we had another advert for the Nelson Story fight. And I wrote here, Max Holloway is the co-main event. Wow.
Yeah. Again, how times have changed.
Yeah. He was fighting a Swedish up-and-comer at the time. Don't think he's in the UFC anymore.
Doesn't really matter because Max is, and he's killing the game.
Yeah, well, he's like featherweight champ.
Best in the world.
Going on to the next fight, a fighter that I know you like a lot.
I do.
Kevin Lee took on John Super Saiyan Tuck.
Now, Tuck had some weird hair going into this fight.
Yeah.
I know that's off topic, but I was looking at it. He dyed it blonde. He went for the Super Saiyan look. It wasn't even blonde properly. It was sort of orange. It just bummed me out, man.
The performance wasn't very Super Saiyan, though, was it?
It was not. Lee
picked him apart.
Kevin, you said a fighter that we like. I don't know what it is about him. I do enjoy Kevin Lee.
Yeah, personally, I don't like Kevin Lee. I just think he's too much of a look at me.
He is definitely a bit out there. Some of his choices, I mean, those glasses, we spoke about them before, but those glasses, the flip-up ones with the hexagon thing, I think look awful.
Orange tint as well. Looking like a Far Cry 5. What's going on?
They don't look great, but there's something about it. But a good showing from him in this fight.
Yeah, again, he was only 22 at this point.
Very young. And he'd already fought a couple of times in the UFC.
Yeah. They said he was the 6th youngest fighter at this point, and this was his 3rd fight in the UFC.
Damn, that's not bad.
Yeah, I mean, he just recently come off a loss to Al Iaquinta as well, which again
not a bad loss.
Is not bad.
No.
That was probably something that the two men had in common. John Tuck had also lost to Al Iaquinta. That was in the Ultimate Fighter at the time. But in the fight, I thought John Tuck looked really lazy. And that was something Lee capitalised on early on, hit him with a suplex. But again, John Tuck's ground defence was really good. I thought he was able to get up quite often.
Yeah. Wasn't allowing much to think. Story of the fight, though, probably those nut shots.
Yeah. I got right here. Kevin Lee catches John Tuck with a low knee, and then John Tuck catches Kevin Lee with a
and gets has a point taken away from him for it.
Yeah,
which overall probably made zero difference to the outcome of the fight. If we're being honest, I think Kevin Lee probably won all those rounds regardless.
Yep.
But it's just interesting to see that. It's just interesting to see. I mean, it happened throughout the entire prelims. If we're being honest, it happened a bunch in that first fight.
I mean, that was bullshot number 5.
Yeah.
And the second by Tuck in the second round. That's why he got the point taken away. The ref probably was a little bit harsh, saying,
it was
I'm going to take one away next time.
Slight controversy, warned them both, and then still took away the point, which,
But in my opinion, Lee won the round anyway.
Definitely.
He won the first round probably. I think the underhooks he had in the clinch. And the second round as well, he had the point taken away, but the boxing and wrestling in the league was too much for him to handle.
I thought, one thing I did think is that I thought towards the end of the third round, or towards the third round and then the second, Kevin Lee looked like he was getting a bit tired.
Yeah.
He looked like he was still won the fight fairly easily, but he definitely looked like he was getting a little bit tired.
Gassed,
yeah.
Something Joe Rogan pointed out as well throughout the fight. But then as soon as they noticed that, John Tuck's mouthpiece goes flying. He tries to catch it. Kevin Lee catches him with some big punches.
He did not give a damn. He went crazy on him.
And then got the takedown and hit some good ground and pound.
Referee stops the fight though. Referee stops the fight. Not stops it as in.
Oh yeah.
Apart. He pauses the fight. I've never seen that before.
Never seen that.
It's a weird,
I've never seen it since.
No. It was a weird thing. He just sort of like tapped him and said, "Hold your position. Here's your mouthpiece."
Tuck was very bloody though. Kevin Lee, big elbows, big punches.
He bloodied him up by the end of that.
And then won the fight 30-26 all judges.
Yeah.
Yeah, so big win for Kevin Lee. I think he went 2-1 in the UFC. That was.
And now he's a contender.
Yeah, it was probably one of the fights before he started getting a lot better, if that makes sense.
Mm.
I thought in this fight it was a good showcase for him, but at the same time he wasn't up to what we see him like
No,
now.
he's
I think his biggest win so far in the UFC is held under controversy, the Michael Chiesa fight. And personally, I don't think for the rank he is at the moment, I don't think he deserves it because he's only beaten the one higher ranked opponent, which is Chiesa, which again was surrounded by controversy. I think the Barboza fight is a really difficult fight for him coming up
definitely.
as well.
I think definitely difficult. I mean, no doubt about it. Barboza has the advantage on the feet, so Kevin's gonna have to show off some of his wrestling,
Yeah.
which I mean we saw in the Tony Ferguson fight. He's not terrible wrestling. He's a fairly decent wrestler. So it should be an interesting one to see.
So that done it though for the prelims on Fight Pass. Now we had the Fox card, and Mike Goldberg and Joe Rogan really got me hyped.
For this one,
Really got me hyped for the co-main event of Eddie Alvarez and Donald Cerrone.
oh, but I mean, looking back at that fight now, in hindsight, and looking back at those two names, how would people not more hype?
Yeah, I mean,
Two killers.
Alvarez's first fight in the UFC. It was the first time he'd come over. Obviously,
Yep.
previously had fought for every organization that
Mhm.
ever existed. And
One of those guys that people like Michael Chandler is now a world-class fighter that isn't quite in the UFC that people really look
Wanna
forward
see.
to having in the UFC, and decent outing, the first round at least, anyways.
yeah,
But we'll get into that.
that'll get into that a bit later. So the first fight on the Fox prelims was John Howard versus Brian Ebersol. First note that I wrote, woo, the guy with the chest hair that points up to him.
That chest hair is tough. Nothing to do with fighting, but that chest hair is tough. He's a hairy man because it's not just the chest; it goes all the way down to the belly. It's a tough one to look at.
John Howard coming into the fight, he'd previously beaten Uriah Hall. That's probably what he's most famous for. I remember he stepped up for middleweight for that fight, but he's going back down to welterweight in this one. Probably his more natural weight class, but something that personally I don't think he looked that good. It was a controversial decision to win,
but it wasn't a
No.
necessarily great fight, if we're being honest. It
No,
wasn't a terrible fight.
It was weird because Brian Ebersol kept punching the thigh of Howard, and
Yeah,
there was no real massive significant advantage in the fight. John Howard did some good work with the leg kicks.
I think what you saw someone in Brian Ebersol who has goodness knows how much MMA experience. I mean,
Too much.
I think I wrote his record down. At the time it was 50 wins, 16 losses, 1 draw, which
is crazy.
Is crazy against against John Howard, sorry, who didn't have a similar record, if we're being honest.
No, Howard had been cut from the UFC previously, so he was in the UFC before, been cut, won a few fights, come back, and then beat Uriah Hall. But in my opinion, the leg kicks I thought won the fight for John Howard. The judges saw it differently. Brian Ebersol won the split decision, but I thought he won the second and third round. But obviously the output by Ebersol in that third probably gave him the victory. He didn't land lots. It wasn't powerful, but he hit him
enough.
Yeah, with not weak, but often.
With enough volume to maybe sway the judges who, I mean, sometimes they see a lot of shots and get swayed, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't damage Howard at all, but at the same time, he got the win.
Yeah.
Which is probably why, again, you don't leave it to the judges in MMA.
No, you have to try and go. But, I mean, in the long seat, it's not a fight that I was really too annoyed by the fact that he was given the win.
No, I mean, it was a fight which had two people which were UFC veterans, and at the end of the day, it was a decent fight for Fox.
Fight.
Yeah,
Exactly.
at the time. The next fight, not too bad, was it?
Good fight.
Patrick Cote, former UFC title challenger, took on future UFC title challenger Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Wow.
Very decent fight.
It's the fourth fight in.
Yes.
Patrick Cote.
Exactly.
The fourth fight in.
And this is what I'm saying. Wonderboy becomes a name afterwards. So you got Cote, who's already a name at the time.
Yeah.
Had been a name. Wonderboy, who's maybe not on the same name level in terms of notoriety, but has definitely become now with his 2 title fights.
Something that I noticed before the fight even happened, they played a little video package for Poirier versus McGregor. And I just wrote early McGregor is my favourite McGregor. Because this McGregor is peak McGregor for me. I don't like Conor McGregor now, what he's become. But this previous iteration, if that makes sense, of Conor McGregor is what made him so likeable.
This was him when he had the best sound bites, basically.
Yeah. Now it's just
he's still
you're a Bowley
Yeah.
to Floyd or doing whatever.
I mean, you can't read one was pretty funny. That you're 40 years old, you can't read. I mean, that made me chuckle. But getting into the fight.
Yeah, something I wrote though before the fight as well. The fight was quite a big one for Wonderboy. He was looking to make a name off a former title challenger. He beat Robert Whittaker in his last fight as well, who would become a future champion. Cote was looking to continue his great form at welterweight. He'd been unbeaten since moving down. And I thought it was a really nice matchup. The thing is, I like both guys as well. Patrick Cote is someone that I've followed since I'd begun watching MMA. He's fought a light heavyweight, middleweight, welterweight. He's fought at every weight class imaginable. Well, not every weight class, but most weight classes imaginable. And again, Thompson is such a fun fighter as well to watch. That it was really good.
Yeah, it was a very decent fight. I put Wonderboy doing Wonderboy stuff basically because I felt like the fight started off with Wonderboy keeping his distance.
Yeah.
Picking up as he does with his kicks. Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's mentioned every time Wonderboy fights. He stands in that sort of karate stance and just picks at you with either leg.
Yeah.
And just does what he wants to do.
It's like what Joe Rogan said. That front side kick just backs opponents away every time. I thought Cote at the start of the round probably won it. He had 2 really good leg kicks, but he kept getting caught by the jab.
Yeah.
Thompson, with his takedown defense, was fantastic. I don't think he got taken down once in the fight.
No. And they mentioned that before the fight. They said that that's the thing that he'd been working on. And it helped him out a lot, to be fair.
Yeah, moving to, for us, Zahabi's camp. I can't remember what it's called. TriStar. Moving to TriStar, working on that takedown
Crazy
defense.
wrestlers there. Obviously, you've got GSP, Rory, all these absolute monsters.
At welterweight as well.
Exactly.
So they're around his weight class. And yeah, it was a really, really fun fight. Thompson probably won that first round. It was a hard round to call, I said, but I thought Cote was active with his leg kicks, trying to disrupt the movement, but Thompson seemed to control the pace of the fight. He did. Controlled it. Yeah.
But it also it seems somewhat as if Cote wasn't pressuring him enough. Is it not just Wonderboy was controlling the pace, but maybe Cote was allowing him to? I feel like Cote could have applied a little bit more pressure if he'd wanted to. He didn't see because Cote, his chin's very. He was known for his chin, exactly. Yeah. So he can risk going in and getting hit with a few shots. Obviously, further into the fight, maybe that's not quite true. But in this early round, I felt like he could have done a little bit more. But again, I think I may have agreed with you in terms of him winning that first round. Oh no, I think I did.
Yeah. The second round though, I thought was a bit stalling to begin with, but then Thompson hit him with a nice shot towards the end of the round, and then again, great takedown defense. I gave another round to Thompson. The takedown defense and again controlling the pace of the fight really helped Thompson win this fight.
That third round. Now, I agree with you for the second round. I thought Thompson, I think Cote the first one because he was a little bit busier. But Wonderboy nicked it in the second. And I think the third round, for me...
Big round for Thompson.
Big round for Thompson. Started off similar in that Thompson was keeping distance, sort of dictating the pace. And then...
hit him with a big punch.
Right at the end, yeah. Was it a right hand? I think I put it somewhere. Either way, he hit him with a big punch, dropped him a little bit.
And Cote wanted the brawl after that. He got up, wanted the brawl.
That's when the fight got crazy.
But then Thompson still dictated the pace. He got a little bit more active, but at the same time, he was still dictating it.
He could possibly have finished that fight. I mean, it's difficult because when you see someone like Cote, he sort of shrugs off these big punches. Like he wasn't laid out for a while. He seemed to get back up fairly quickly. Obviously, Thompson doesn't want to follow into the ground because, I mean, Thompson's not a ground fighter, mainly. But it was a decent fight, especially that third round, man.
Yeah, the third round as well, the fans started booing, and I just wrote the fans need to shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
It was a really enjoyable technical fight.
Definitely.
It was a technical fight, which, in my opinion, was what I expected Woodley versus Thompson to be, because we see that technical fight and it's
Yeah, I suppose when you're watching it on TV, it's slightly different to when you're watching it live. I mean, when you're watching it live, you want the KOs and you want the
like I've been to UFC twice. I've never booed. I've never booed a fight. Never would think about
people,
it.
Yeah.
I think it's probably the disconnect between people that haven't experienced things like that and people that have.
Could also be the Irish just wanting fights to end so they can see Conor.
Yeah.
Just wanting it to get to Conor time real quick.
Or drunk messes.
Or drunk people, yeah.
But no, Thompson won the fight 30-27 and then 2 judges scored it 29-28. I can see why the 29-28 came, but personally I think Thompson won all 3 rounds. But it was a good win for Thompson. He got a win over a name with casual MMA fans. Probably don't know who Cote is, but people who know the sport, they know who Patrick Cote is. And it was a good fight. It was a good win for him.
Definitely.
Next fight then, Jorge Gamebred Masvidal was taking on James Krause. Masvidal ranked number 12 going into this fight.
Yeah. At lightweight, which was surprising. I mean, you remember, obviously looking back at it, but at the time you just completely forget that you fought at lightweight.
Yeah.
Because it's a big jump from 55 to 70. Obviously, other people have done it now with Cerrone.
Dos Anjos.
Yeah, other people have done it and looked good, but close fight. But Masvidal seemed to be.
I thought
control.
Masvidal, the output was similar by both men, but Masvidal was landing the more experience and the more better punches. Somebody I wrote halfway through the round that we found out Jeremy Piven, Ari from Entourage, he thinks that McGregor's going to beat Poirier. Come up down the bottom.
He was not wrong.
And at the same time, Masvidal, he kept blitzing him.
Yeah.
That was the one thing. He kept blitzing him, getting him across the octagon, and then taking him down or controlling him in the clinch. And that's something I thought really worked for Masvidal. I had him winning all 3 rounds going into this fight.
Definitely.
He landed a big right hand as well, knocked him down. I think it was towards the end of the second round. And Masvidal, he showed his experience in this fight. I thought it was a good win for him.
One thing I did note is that Masvidal's wrestling is really good. Now, granted, we've seen that now when he fought Damian Maia. We saw that his defensive wrestling was amazing. But in this fight, he showed some of that wrestling again, and it's just weird looking that not many people mention his wrestling when you speak about Masvidal, because he's known as a brawler, he's known as a backyard fighter.
Even his jiu-jitsu in this fight, and that's something that Joe Rogan mentioned as well, that when he would fight in them backyard fights with technique.
Exactly.
Something that they hadn't noticed before. But
not quite like Kimbo. Not quite like Kimbo.
But something I noticed was Krause kept catching him in that second round, and then he went for a takedown, and Masvidal landed in mount.
Yeah.
He landed in full mount from a takedown.
Yeah.
And
experience.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what more can you say? What more can you say?
Masvidal showed his patience in class, and every single time Krause would go to throw a punch, Masvidal was there first.
Yes.
So yeah, he gets the unanimous decision victory, and again, I thought it was a great performance by him.
Another thing that I put down is that I think I heard Joe Rogan mention in the stream of the thing that it was his third fight, in 6 months.
Which is crazy.
Crazy.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Crazy. I'm sure he fought more. I mean, backyard fight, he's probably fighting every other weekend, but absolutely unbelievable.
It reminds me of that time when Chris Lieben fought, I think it was 2 times in 2 weeks.
Just
something ridiculous like that in the UFC.
Certain people. I mean,
they're made to fight.
Bisbin, after the GSP loss, had a quick turnaround.
Come back 2 weeks later
to fight in a completely different part of the world.
Yeah.
I mean, just certain people are made differently than I'm made. I think I could fight. I mean, I can't fight full stop, but if I was forced to, maybe once every 10 years, and that would be about it.
Going into the main event then for our Fox prelims, Dominic Cruz makes his return after 1,092 days and 3 years. Dominic Cruz is back.
My favourite fight in the card. Not because it was an amazingly long fight or it was a back and forth. I just loved that knockout.
Just the fact,
it was just so crazy.
Just the fact that Dominic Cruz had come back from 3 years out, taking on someone who is a very dangerous fighter that a lot of people forget, Takeya Mizukaki. He was looking for his 6th win. Yeah, he was looking for his 6th win in this fight. And something that I wrote down that I noticed straight away, Dominic Cruz's song, the first line was, he's taking the time to reintroduce himself.
He had that Jay-Z, yeah, very, very nice. It was definitely, obviously pre-planned, because they have to pre-plan the music, but it was definitely nice to see that.
It was perfect. It was a perfect, and the performance as well was perfect.
Amazing. Dominic stuff just sort of
the movement.
Around. Yeah, it was all
takedown, the ground and pound
was serious. That switch straight
double leg.
Oh my goodness, that takedown was serious. And then that ground and pound, he just destroyed him. He
took his
absolutely
arm,
murdered him. Yeah,
pounding him out. And then afterwards, something that I wrote down was the realization that he'd done it.
Yeah,
he just stood there.
He looked like he was taking it.
Yeah, stood there, took it in. It was great.
I mean, we don't know how fighters, because fighting is their passion. They love it, I'm sure. And for him not to be able to do that for over 3 years, or I think it was close to 3 years, maybe just under.
Well, 1,090 days.
Would have been unbelievable for him, and for him to be back, I mean, must have been a special moment.
Yeah, must have been fantastic. He got the TKO win in round 1, 1 minute 10. Yeah, and post-fight, I mean, I just wrote, Cruz versus Team Alpha Male is one of the greatest feuds in MMA history.
Yeah.
Calls out Alpha Males again. Alpha Fails, as he likes to call them. He kind of put that to the test.
I mean,
TJ, but
obviously the feud was already there with Uriah, but this sort of set it up for future with Cody. Obviously, Cody's not part of Alpha Male now, but set it up for Cody is part of Alpha Male, but with TJ, sorry, who isn't part of Alpha Male now, but it set it up for him as well. And I mean, it's a nice one to see, isn't it?
Yeah, it was just nice to see Cruz back in the ring, and I really enjoyed the fight because it was a nice, different,
short. But
every fight we'd seen up until that point, apart from the Gambarian fight, I think we had 4 decisions in a row. And it was nice to see this bang, quick knockout done.
What you think of when you hear MMA? If you're not a fan, I mean, this is what you think of. You think of quick knockouts.
Yeah. So something that I noticed as well, going into, I watched the full thing. So when I was watching it, I watched the Fight Pass prelims, and I thought, I'll watch the prelims just afterwards. And then I was like, I'll watch the main card. And then before I knew it, it was like 2 a.m. in the morning. I was like, oh, damn, I got work in the morning. And I think it was the way the card flowed. It was every fight was enjoyable.
Yeah.
But obviously, by watching the prelims, I watched the whole program. So Rashad Evans picked Dustin Poirier to beat Conor McGregor.
Tough pick. I mean, at the time, it probably wasn't a terrible pick, if we're being honest. Dustin was ranked higher. He was
number 5,
guy.
I think he was at the time.
He was a dangerous guy. Conor was. People just hated on him. I mean, they still definitely do, but back then they hated on him a lot. They felt like he was just a mouthpiece, and that was sort of his come fight. Either way, moving on to the next fight.
In my opinion, one of the best main cards the UFC has put on, performance-wise.
It's not a bad shout.
Every fight was enjoyable.
Definitely.
The first fight was great. The second fight, controversial, but great.
Yeah.
The third fight, iconic.
Definitely.
The fourth fight, and the fifth fight, just a go.
Exactly. The Demetrius Johnson.
And that's the thing. We've been talking a lot about McGregor and Cerrone and Alvarez and Poirier. We haven't spoken about Demetrius Johnson once yet. And the fact that probably explains why the pay-per-view buys weren't as high as what they were.
Which is a shame.
Yeah, because Demetrius Johnson,
always
MMA fans know Demetrius Johnson is the best. But casuals can't get with him.
No. I mean, there's countless debates on the internet as to why. Maybe it's got something to do with his size. Maybe it's got something to do with the fact that he's not outspoken. Even his personality. Yeah. His personality-wise, quote unquote, is the personality of a nerd. He likes anime. He plays video games. He streams. He does this. Which you'd think the UFC would play upon.
Yeah,
but they don't. They just let it be.
And he's one of the most clean-cut fighters you get.
Definitely.
He 1,000,000% has never taken PEDs. I can 100% tell you that. He doesn't get outspoken about Reebok. Is not outspoken about USADA. He just doesn't care.
Recently, he's been a little bit more outspoken about contracts.
And potentially that's because he wants the money. But because he's done everything.
He knows he's the greatest.
Yeah.
He knows he's the greatest, and the greatest should be paid like the greatest. Unfortunately, that's not quite how it works. You have to get paid as...
the bosses tell you.
Yeah, based on your draw power and all that stuff. Which is a shame, but what can you do?
Going into then the main card, our first fight of the evening was Alpha Cat Zingano versus the Lioness Amanda Nunes in what was a #1 contenders fight in the women's bantamweight division.
You like this fight?
Yeah, I really like this fight. I thought this is prime Cat Zingano. This is just before Nunes as well started a mental streak. I'm pretty sure this was the last loss Amanda Nunes has had. And what a matchup it was. Nunes at the time wasn't known for the great stand-up she's got at the moment. She was more known, ground and pound. Cat Zingano recently come off a massive injury, had beaten Miesha Tate in her last fight, was meant to do the Ultimate Fighter, never did it. And I think in that first 3-4 minutes, we saw the ring rust from Cat Zingano from the layoff of the injury. A massive leg kick by Nunes, Zingano down. And she was just landing some mental ground and pound.
Vicious, absolutely vicious.
I mean, if the ref stopped it, I wouldn't have minded.
I put that on the thing whilst I was watching it. I mentioned it. I was like, the ref probably could have stopped it. Glad that he didn't, because the fight was great.
Because it was fantastic.
And in fairness, if he had stopped it, I mean, Cat wasn't terribly hurt, if we're being honest.
Nah, she probably wouldn't be able to. But you see it all the time in MMA where people are stood up going, oh no, I'm okay. But we don't question the decision. At the same time, throughout that round, Cat Zingano DDT'd Amanda Nunes. Yes. What a trip. What a throw.
Craziness. I mean, it's the moments like that when you watch MMA and you're like, this is one of the key reasons I watch this stuff, because crazy stuff like that can happen.
It's the way you hear the crowd just going, "What?"
You just love it, isn't it? Because you're not expecting it. You just love it.
Crazy. But then before the end of the round, I just wrote down ole, 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 ole. Because all you hear is the McGregor fans oleing like there's no tomorrow, ready for the man.
I mean, they know it's close.
Yeah, his time is
It's
just
almost
around the
there.
corner. I thought it was a 10-9 though for Nunes.
Yeah.
It would have been a 10-8, but I think because Zingano hit that massive takedown.
She did. She got a takedown towards the end, isn't it?
It was a great takedown as well. So I think it probably was a 10-9 in the end. Round 2, Zingano hit another great takedown and some great ground and pound.
She looked like she was searching for a submission the entire fight. Every time she was on the ground, obviously, in the first round she was a little bit hesitant because Nunes was laying that ground and pound on her. Couldn't really.
She was still trying to go for the leg locks.
She was still definitely going for the leg locks, but in the second round I felt like she was a bit more dominant and set the tone for the rest of the fight.
Yeah, 100%. Something that they commented on, Joe Rogan and Mike Goldberg said that you noticed when Amanda was on top, Nunes was always looking for the submission.
Yeah.
When Zingano was on top, Nunes just laid there. So again, I forgot, it could either been a 10-9 or a 10-8 in that round. Zingano was on top the whole time. She landed big elbows and big strikes, and Nunes didn't really do much. Third round come along, some massive knees and another DDT by Kat Zingano.
Similar sort of story.
God.
Similar sort of story.
And then this is all in the first minute. She hits some massive elbows, and Amanda Nunes is all kinds of cut up.
Definitely.
And then Kat Zingano gets the TKO victory in round 3 of 1 minute 28.
Big fight.
21, sorry, not 28.
Big fight. I mean, it must have been amazing. I mean, similar to the Dominic Cruz thing, it must have been amazing after a layoff to come back.
Yeah, back-to-back massive injuries from both fighters. It's crazy.
Clearly a title eliminator. I mean, Zingano was considered at the time the main threat to Ronda.
She was unbeaten at the time as well, I think.
Very possibly, I can't remember, but she was definitely considered. And Nunes was rising up. I mean, they mentioned it during the broadcast. She was one of the Brazilians that were rising up, along with like Claudia Gadelha and all these other rising stars. And in that first round, she showed why she could be a future champion, or why she is a future champion now.
Yeah.
Not so much in the third.
I mean, she got stopped in the third.
She did.
But the scream from Zingano in that when they
emotional stuff.
Yeah, you could hear the emotion, and I was really happy for Kat Zingano. And I wrote that I really wanted the Rousey Zingano fight to go the way everyone else wanted it to go in the end. Obviously, we know how it happened. She rushed in with a flying knee, but could you just imagine if Zingano took her time?
Yeah.
And actually went for it?
How?
I mean, could be talking about different history right now.
You could be talking about a different landscape of MMA.
Could be talking about Kat Zingano, former bantamweight champion. Could be talking about anything.
You could be talking about her in the WWE at the moment.
Yeah, taking over Rousey.
Yeah.
But the next fight is probably the most controversial fight of the night. We talked about controversy earlier with the decision. This one was probably the most controversial.
Stoolgate.
Yep, Stoolgate. Yoel Romero took on the special arms specialist, Tim Kennedy.
The soldier of God versus an actual soldier.
Yeah. The first round was really enjoyable. I thought all 3 rounds were really enjoyable.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Yoel was one of those fighters that you always like to see. Controversy aside and dodgy stuff aside, explosive fighter, loads people in, and I mean, who doesn't like watching Yoel fight?
Exactly. He's
a fun guy to guy. Amazing wrestler, but doesn't always just go for the wrestling. He's happy to stand and strike with a bunch of people. So
Yoel catching with a big double leg. Something that was interesting was Tim Kennedy, before the fight, was saying he doesn't want to go on the ground with me. He doesn't want to go on the ground with me. First thing Yoel Romero does is just goes to the takedown.
I mean, you can bait all you want, but there's a reason he's a 2-time Olympian. Olympian? Yeah. There's a reason he's an Olympian. There's a reason he's
fantastic. Just probably one of the better
bad dude in there.
Yoel Romero caught him with a big left as well, and Tim Kennedy got bloody in the first round.
He seemed to have some trouble quite reading Yoel's, because Yoel can lure people in with his slow movement, and then he explodes out and catches you a couple of times. And it seemed like Tim had a bit of trouble reading him and seeing what he was doing in that first round at least.
Yeah, I had that 10-9 for Romero. Some good wrestling and good stand-up gave him the round. There was no doubt that he won that. Second round, again, they were just having some great back and forths. But then it was probably an even round up until
that final
few seconds. Yeah. Yoel Romero catches him with a beautiful spinning back fist. And how the hell did Yoel Romero stay on his feet? He was I mean, the
He looked-
cage probably
cage,
helped.
Yeah, definitely. Because he was searching for that cage. He was stumbling backwards looking to lie on that thing.
It's one of the most memorable moments from that year,
Yeah.
from 2014, was Yoel Romero just getting pounded on the cage.
Definitely. 10 more seconds, he probably loses that fight.
Yeah.
It's not a bad shout, that.
So then we had 10. I thought that was 10-9 Kennedy.
Yeah.
I thought it was 1-1 probably just because of that round. I thought it was even going into that, and
But
then
obviously that
Kennedy. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. But then we had it, the biggest
Still
controversial
oh my
moment.
goodness. It was extreme. I mean, there was parts before this fight Yoel got warned because he was punching by the groin somewhat.
Yeah, but he was punching his fight.
He
I thought it was fine.
But Yoel, after this fight, now he's sort of got a reputation for doing dodgy stuff.
Like with the Weidman fight,
Yeah.
he was all wet up,
And
then
this sort of set it all off, where he got water poured on him and just didn't leave.
he just stood there. He
Now,
just sat there.
exactly. That's my point. It's one thing being wet and then having someone to dry you down, but being sat down the entire time. Like, you can't blame that on someone else. You could have made the conscientious decision to stand up.
I love how Big John McKay just comes and get out,
Yeah.
and just picks the stool up and lobs it.
Yeah.
But then the man's just still in the octagon, and Yoel's like, get out.
Yeah, just doing his thing. I mean, it's a tough thing to look at, especially. I mean, we'll get to it in a second, but especially considering how the fight ends.
Yeah,
it's a tough one, man.
Well, big hand from Yoel Romero, big right hand, ground and pound, and then he was chasing him, and then I wrote, he's dead. Stop it. Wait, he might be all right, and then no, it's gone. It's all over. What a win for Romero, though.
What a tough loss for
Kennedy. Yeah,
it pained my heart because after this fight, obviously people weren't a huge fan of Yoel.
No,
you get
I think it was the Machida fight that probably turned it around for everyone.
Slowly, you begin to become a fan of him. You see that he's not getting the title shot that he possibly rightly deserves. And then you watch this fight again, and you're like, why did I ever like this guy, even for a second?
So Yoel Romero gets the win by TKO in the third round, 58 seconds. Something that they brought up was the winning streak in the middleweight division, and Clint Hester was is in the top 3. I was like, what? Clint Hester from The Ultimate Fighter? Come on. But controversy surrounds the win, and Joe Rogan did not hesitate to go into that. But Yoel just avoids the question.
He does.
He loves everyone.
Yoel stuff, just talking gibberish.
He fight for everyone. He doesn't fight for himself. He fight for everyone.
Oh, USA.
He thank USA. I personally love Yoel talking. It's just brilliant.
It is one of those things. It's no matter how bad he does stuff,
and
you can always smile.
This is where I So Sorry got born. I So Sorry was born here, but again, Yoel avoids the question, and we get no
he
answers.
does somewhat answer it in the end. He says that he didn't mean to.
Yeah, I So Sorry.
I mean, if we're being honest, like, you can stand up. It was dodgy stuff from a guy that's maybe getting known for
controversial figure. Yeah,
exactly.
Next up, I just wrote down ole again, because now it's Dustin Poirier versus Conor McGregor. The fight card had 3 big fights on it. You had McGregor, Poirier, you had Cerrone, Alvarez, and you had Johnson Carriazo was the poster. Wow.
Crazy fight. Not a long fight.
Before the fight, though, we had a promo for Aldo Mendes too. Mendes.
And you were mentioning you got really hyped for that, even though the fight's already happened.
I was just like, damn, I got to watch it again.
I know. That crazy. I mean, you could feel as if they were built, because I think that fight happened, the card after this one, no?
It might have been the next pay-per-view after.
Next pay-per-view or something like that.
But the card as well was good.
You could just see that you could just see where they were building up to. They were building up to Conor.
Yeah.
You could just see what they were trying to do.
And the card as well didn't seem too bad. You had Maldonado on there. Beneil Dariush was there. It was basically just for the Brazilians. But yeah, I've wrote, this is my Conor, not the one now. This Conor is the GOAT Conor.
I mean, I can't disagree. I mean, I still like him just because I'm a stickler for trash talk, man. My favourite fight is trash talk. What can I say? I just like it. Fight itself, pretty mad.
Yeah.
Poirier maybe underperformed. Not to take anything away from Conor, but maybe he didn't do as good as he could have done.
I thought he predicted how he would win the fight, and he did it. Round 1 knockout.
Something that he's maybe not known for so much now. Definitely back in. I mean, the Mystic Mac thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's Conor through and through. Let's be honest. That left hand shot.
Something that I noticed was the fact that it's mad how much support Conor had,
Mm.
because he hadn't had that mainstream attention at this point, but he had the whole nation behind
Yeah.
him, and that's why the early McGregor is so special.
I think it probably helped him that he fought on the regional scene here.
Yeah,
So he obviously, I mean, we're not too far from Ireland. We're right there. So I'm sure that a bunch of Irish MMA fans will obviously know who they are, and they can spare the money on him, because there's not many other people, or at least there wasn't that then. There's a couple
yeah.
now
I mean,
that were flying the Irish flag.
yeah.
What more can you say?
Norman Park was probably the most famous Irish fighter ever at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then this other guy
says
just
something
pops out. Yeah, this other guy just pops out of almost from nowhere and takes the world by storm, or takes the entire game by storm.
Something I noticed as well was that Ole's drowned out the chants of USA, and that's
Yeah.
something I've never heard before. The USA chants getting drowned out.
Yeah, you could hear it. You thought maybe Poirier was building up some earnest, because you could begin to hear it every now and then.
And he was like, "Oh, come on, then, let's
just
go do
eventually,
it."
yeah.
Because McGregor got caught a few times as well, but he has
He
a
did.
solid chin.
But McGregor gets caught not fairly often, but even with that Aldo fight, you see Aldo caught him on the way in.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, he gets caught. His defense is one thing, because obviously he's a counter puncher. But
And then a post-fight quote I've got: "You call me Mystic Mac because I predict these things."
see, we were speaking about this a little bit earlier as well, and we were saying that didn't get the same reaction that I remember it getting. I felt like the crowd went crazy for that, but they didn't. They just sort of let it be.
It was like, yeah.
They went
right,
crazy
yeah.
for the when one of us go to war.
Yeah.
I mean, they went absolutely mad.
You just
for
saw
that.
a million Irish flags go up in the
crazy.
air.
I think there was a picture of one guy just singing his heart out, jumping up and down with the Irish flag. It was just amazing to watch.
I mean, it's one of them scenes that's why early Conor McGregor is so special. Now he's such a mainstream figure.
A celebrity.
Yeah.
He more celebrity than fighter almost now.
He's a figure that a lot of people who are casuals look to be like, I watch UFC.
Yeah, becoming
I do UFC.
Becoming somewhat what Ronda was when people started to dislike her almost.
Yeah.
Becoming that sort of mainstream, going on the talk shows and.
But at the same time, who cares?
Yeah, let the man live his life.
Co-main event then was up next. Donald Cerrone took on the debuting Eddie, the Underground King Alvarez. This was Eddie's first fight in the UFC. And before I even watched the fight, I just said I remember this being a complete war. And in my opinion, this is when Cerrone's in the prime of his career.
It's not a bad shout, that. I mean, he was coming off. I can't remember exactly what the win streak was. 4 or 5.
I don't know if he beat Benson Henderson before or after this fight, but this was during, I think it was his 7-fight win streak stage, where he just beat everyone.
Something crazy.
And then he got a title shot by beating John McDessie.
And then obviously Eddie's coming in from outside the UFC.
Yeah.
One of
Bellator's big fighters leaving.
Definitely.
Controversy as well surrounding this fight is the fact that Eddie's contract had to get leaked because of all of the
got paid a lot of money.
Yeah, all of the what's the word I'm looking for? Legal issues.
Okay.
Legal issues going into the fight. The fact that Eddie wanted to leave, Bellator wanted to keep him, and then there was a lot of stuff going on at the time preventing Eddie from coming into the UFC. But I think that first round really
crazy.
Yeah, was big for Eddie.
Absolutely crazy. I mean, Donald just didn't seem like he wanted to get out of that clinch.
And that's something that Donald said though. He's always slow to start in the first round.
Yeah.
And that's something that was massively true here. Eddie was relentless with the shots in the clinch.
And Donald just did not want. When I was watching it, I was thinking Donald wants to be woken up here. Honestly, that's what I thought. I thought he's letting himself be punched because he wants to feel it and wants to be. Because Donald starts slow in all of his fights. But I mean, that clinch was just crazy. He was just going in.
It was 39-16 for the strikes for Eddie Alvarez, which is crazy. And in my opinion, it was a 10-9 from Alvarez. The output from him was great.
Definitely.
He connected with a lot of shots and definitely hurt Cerrone in some sort of way.
Clinch itself, I mean, there's no way that he didn't hurt him. That clinch itself was crazy.
Going into the second round, though, I thought Cerrone started to come back into it a lot more.
Yes. Started to woke up, basically.
Yeah, the leg
to show why Cerrone. Yeah, I mean, by the end of that fight, his leg
gave out.
Oh my goodness. The welts, you couldn't see it amazingly clearly during the fight, but when they were in the corners between rounds, they'd zoom in on it and you could see it and it just looked awful.
He was landing some great knees as well with Cerrone, getting him in the Muay Thai clinch, whether it was to the
keeping
body.
the distance with the knees, not letting him get too close every time he tried to, which obviously Alvarez is a crazy good at dirty boxing. It was keeping him away.
Because he would come in looking to go to the body, and Cerrone would counter it with the knee, and Alvarez was getting hurt from it, and he didn't like it.
No.
So I thought that second round went to Cerrone.
Yeah, definitely.
Cowboy came back in that round with some great Muay Thai strikes, utilised the knees and kicks fantastically, and great fight so far.
Definitely.
Third round, though, Cerrone ended up getting caught really early on. He come back and he put some punches. He got him in the Muay Thai, the plum clinch, hit him with a knee. Alvarez was rocked. Crazy fight.
Crazy. I mean, how the man was even stood up. I mean, granted he fell over, but most people's legs would have come off their bodies.
He was rocked, and then got the leg kicks even more.
And it weren't just one. He saw that his leg buckled, so he was like, "F it, here's another one just for good measure."
And then it just collapsed.
But I mean, poor guy, but very decent fight.
Yeah.
What more could you expect? I mean, now we know Eddie is a sort of guy that likes to go to war
and grind out decision wins as well. Eddie can do it all, and I think in this fight it was the nerves that overcame him.
Very possibly.
I think his next fight he fought Anthony Pettis after this and ended up beating him.
I mean, that was his sort of afterwards. He sort of went on his tear to try and
get the belt,
and he got the belt. Yeah.
Yeah. 2-1 to Cerrone. I had it scored, saved with the judges. Unanimous decision win for him. Yeah, something that I noticed was Cerrone kept going for that head kick. That's what he was known for at the time.
I also thought Cerrone could have finished that fight.
Yeah.
But he almost decided not to finish it, which was weird because you think maybe, I mean, Cerrone likes getting them bonuses. You think maybe you try and finish him, get that bonus. Maybe he thought Conor's on the card, so Conor will get the KO bonus no matter what he does.
Everyone knows that.
Everyone knows. I mean, he's got that KO bonus. He's got that special treatment, let's be honest.
Post-fight, though, Cerrone said the reason why he didn't pursue the knockout or the win was because he just wanted to lay on him because he was tired. So, yeah, well done to Cerrone. 2-1.
Honest.
2-1, in my opinion, he won that, and so did the judges.
Definitely.
So before the main event, we had a few crowd cuts, and we had the old classic Rose Namajunas.
We did.
Long-haired Rose.
Very weird-looking Rose then and then Rose now.
Pat Barry was there with her.
Yeah.
Good old Pat. I love Pat. Pat and Rose.
Who doesn't love Pat?
Everyone loves him.
Funny guy.
Main event then was up next. So, and I just wrote, after all the mental fights, we've got the code defender this time.
Yeah.
Chris Carriasso was coming into this fight a plus 890 underdog. And
yeah, DJ was like plus 1,000 something.
Minus 1,090. Which is like, oh,
crazy. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, believable. I mean, let's be real. Probably deserving odds.
Yeah.
You see the fight and then you think those odds were 100% correct.
Well, Chris Carriasso was ranked number 8. That's how much Demetrius Johnson had cleared the division out at this point, that the number 8 fighter is going to have to step up and fight him.
For the title.
DJ hit him with a great takedown, and Demetrius Johnson was hitting some body shots. And it was when Chris Carriasso went for the takedown. He was grimacing, I noticed.
Yeah.
DJ was hitting him, and then he went for the takedown, but as he was going down, his face was all screwed up. And DJ was just on point. This was classic Demetrius Johnson.
Definitely. I mean, he's just on another level than everyone he fights.
Yeah.
It's just, there's nothing else you can say about the guy. He didn't look like he was in trouble at all in that fight. He looked like he was fluid, he was confident, and he was just doing his stuff. I mean, we speak about John being the greatest, and maybe that's warranted. But
it's tough.
DJ's got to be, if not first, second.
Yeah. Because the work that Matt Hume has done for him is just fantastic. DJ rocked him right at the end as well.
Yeah.
He hit him with a huge overhand and then with a massive knee. It was pitch perfect. It's just fantastic. 10-9 for Johnson. Great round for him.
I mean, Johnson doing Johnson stuff.
It's just what's expected.
Exactly.
And then I just put DJ's fucking him up in the crucifix, moves to side control, gets the Kimura.
Goodness. I mean, maybe could have finished it if he'd put on a bit more pressure, but I mean, the finish in the next round was
just crazy.
Spectacular.
Round 2, 229. Kimura victory for Demetrius Johnson with his 5th title defense.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much else you can say. The guy, credit to Carriasso.
Yeah.
Didn't want to tap.
But he was going to break that arm.
It's either tap or lose the arm, basically.
Joe Rogan after the fight said it's getting to that point now where it's hard to find challengers.
Yeah.
And I mean, it got to that point where they had to create a whole season of The Ultimate Fighter just to find someone to fight Demetrius Johnson.
Well. I mean, it's got to the point where they have to do super fights where they had the rumored TJ DJ, which obviously isn't happening now, but that's just the credit to the guy. Like, that's what he can do.
That's how good he is.
You can say that maybe his division isn't as heavily loaded with contenders as other divisions.
But at the same time, you've got the likes of Joseph Benavidez, who...
He's not ducked anyone. It's not as if he's saying, I don't want to fight him. He's fought everyone, and he convincingly beat everyone.
Yeah, without a doubt, Demetrius Johnson, the greatest of all time. Yeah, so thoughts overall on the card. What would you give it? If you had to give it a ranking system out of 10, what would you give the card?
I'm going to give it an 8.
An 8.
An 8. It's a solid, not just because of the how good the fights were, but also because I feel as if a lot of these fights set in motion what MMA is now. And you can say that about any fights in the past. You can say that obviously those fights have a direct influence on fights in the future. But I'm talking about Conor went on to become Conor McGregor. Kevin Lee went on to fight for the interim title. DJ is now the record holder for number of title defenses.
Cowboy Cerrone is in fucking TV shows.
Yeah, exactly.
He was in An Always Sunny.
Eddie went on to become a champion.
Poirier,
Nunez,
a top contender.
Yeah, Nunez went on. So the fights are just
Yoel
decent.
went to fight for the title. Well, interim title.
Yeah, and then obviously
getting a title shot now.
Wonderboy. So it's not just the fights themselves were good. It's what the fights led on to.
Yeah.
How you remember the card.
I think this fight sparked a different era for MMA. I think this card helped rein in the modern era.
Yeah.
Because of who you had and what the impact was in all the fights.
Make it more mainstream.
Going into the performances and fight of the night. Fight of the night went to Tim Kennedy and Yoel Romero. Personally, I would have given it to Zingano and Nunez, but still, the Kennedy fight.
Yeah, it's not.
What a fight. The performances of the night went to Conor McGregor and Dominic Cruz. Can't really argue with that.
Conor obviously always gets them.
And I don't think you can argue with the fact
that,
Dominic Cruz getting a performance of the night. So yeah, that's going to be it for the Flashback card. Right, moving into the next segment, we're going to be doing our predictions for the upcoming UFC 223 card. We've got Tony Ferguson versus Khabib Nurmagomedov.
What a fight.
Wow, that is the main event, but we're going to be doing the main card picks only. We would do the prelims, but thinking about it when it moves into future events like UFC Hamburg, and we're like, oh, wait a second, we're just predicting random fights
Tough
now.
to pick fights for people that you don't know.
Yeah, like Lena Landsberg versus Gina. Yeah.
You have to do some serious research.
So going into the main card, then the first fight of the evening on pay-per-view will be Raging Out Iaquinta versus the Irish Dragon Paul Felder. This is fight of the night.
Can't disagree. Paul Felder fighting once again, stepping away from the commentary. He's doing commentary now, whatever he's doing, stepping away from that. Be interested to do. Obviously, both guys up for it. How do you have it going?
I really like Paul Felder. He is one of my favourite fighters.
Cool.
That knockout of Stevie Ray is so brutal. The big elbow, wow. Iaquinta's coming into this fight ranked number 10. Again, controversy surrounds him with his contract. Hated Dana White. If going into fight week they focus more on the contract situation, I think it's going to be tough for Iaquinta. And I really want to see Paul Felder win this fight. I think Paul Felder could be something really good for the UFC. The way he fights is just exciting.
Yeah.
That's why I got it down for tip for fight of the night. Iaquinta has got power. He has got precision. And Iaquinta is a tough fighter as well.
He is.
So I think it's a really difficult fight to call. But I'm going to go for Paul Felder by split decision.
Now, for me, I think I remember Iaquinta having signed a new contract. So I feel like that's not as big of an issue as it was in the past. Also, I think because he signed a new contract, he's got something to prove. I feel as if he's going to go in there hungry. I feel as if he's going to go in there wanting to show Dana White, who he's clearly not getting along with, why he should get the money that he feels like he should deserve. And Paul's obviously doing his commentary thing now. So you've got to question whether this guy's already got a backup plan as to what's happening post MMA. Whether he's 100% dedicated anymore.
Hey, you've seen his acting in It's Always Sunny.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, is Al, I mean, obviously Al's doing, what's Al doing? Houses?
Some
random stuff with houses?
Yeah. Selling houses, doesn't he?
Yeah. I don't know, I feel like Al gets it done by
because he even done that in his last fight, didn't he, with Diego Sanchez? He's like, oh yeah, if you're selling a house, call me.
I mean, you've got people watching. I mean, if you're on a big card, you've got 200,000 people watching, you might as well shout out your business. But I think he gets it done by KO/TKO.
So
I think he finishes him.
So just confirm, I'm going Paul Felder split decision.
Iaquinta KO / TKO, but finish them.
Next round is another fight that I have someone who is very likable. Michael Maverick Chiesa is going to be taking on Anthony Showtime Pettis. Chiesa is such a nice guy.
Seems like it.
He loves his mother.
We all know.
He's going into this fight ranked number 9. Pettis, the former champ, going in ranked number 12. I think this could be a massive fight for Chiesa because if he wins this one, he's got a win over a former champ.
Big name.
As well, he has come out and said that him and Kevin Lee at the Performance Center have been talking about a rematch in July potentially.
It's not a bad fight.
To headline one of the cards during fight week. I think if Chiesa gets it done here, I think Kevin Lee is the next fight for him.
Yeah.
And I see Chiesa getting it done. I think Pettis always seems to struggle with fights like this. He struggles when
Just
he has to fight.
Stop.
Yeah, when he has a fighter that's going to grind out the victory.
Yeah.
Chiesa is fantastic on the ground. In my opinion, probably one of the best grapplers in the UFC. Very, very underrated. But it's the way that he takes people out. It's the way he's just a fantastic fighter. Former Ultimate Fighter winner as well. So I'm going to go with Chiesa to get the sub in round 3.
Now, I agree. I think that this is Chiesa's jumping off fight. I feel as if he win. I think that he wins this fight against sub. I don't think he's going to knock out Anthony Pettis. I mean, Anthony Pettis
He'll do some cartwheel
would very happily be standing up with him. I think Pettis is. I mean, he's struggling a little bit at the moment. He's on a 1-fight lose streak. I think he
lost to Poirier.
He won his previous fight and then lost a bunch of fights.
I'm pretty sure he's 2-5 in his last 7.
It's just not going good for him at the moment. Chiesa's obviously got. He's hungry. He wants that rematch.
And Chiesa's still young.
He is still young, and he's one of those guys that, like you said, he's likable. So it's tough to pick against the guy.
And if you take away the controversial loss in the last fight, he's on a big win streak.
Yeah.
If you take away that loss, and if you look at his losses inside the octagon, 1 second to go against Jorge Masvidal, which a lot of people consider a tough loss for him to take because he tapped in that last second. Yeah. He got a TKO cut against Joe Lozon, so was never properly beat by Lozon.
Yeah.
And even Dana White has come out and said that it was a bullshit decision. And then that last fight got beat by Kevin Lee despite never getting beat. So it's a crazy way. If you look at his career, he's never, apart from the Jorge Masvidal fight, never properly been beat.
But yeah, no, I think he gets it done. Submission. If I had to pick a round, probably the second round. I think they probably both come out a little bit tentative in the first, and then he sort of takes over in the second. Does what he wants to do.
Next fight is a very interesting fight because it's not really been hyped up as much.
No.
The UFC Twitter account hasn't really mentioned it at all. The fight fans haven't really mentioned it at all. You've got Renato Moicano taking on Calvin Carter. Moicano, I'm pretty sure in his last fight, lost to Brian Ortega.
Yes.
But before that, beat Jeremy Stephens, who is now one of the top contenders.
Yeah. Not a tough loss. I mean, Brian Ortega's fighting for the title now. But I think Calvin Kattar's on a crazy winning streak, if I'm correct. I think he's on, I want to say 9, maybe wrong. May have just pulled that number out of thin air. He's ranked 13 to Moicano's 11, which in featherweight, again, I mean, featherweight's like lightweight. It's one of those divisions that's very heavily loaded with talent at the moment. Very tough guys. But yeah, so if I'm going to make a pick, I think Calvin Kattar or Kattar, I have no idea again how you pronounce that name. I think he probably gets it done. If I'm being pushed, probably by decision, I feel like.
So he's got 8 decision wins in his career. His 2 losses, submission and decision.
What's his streak on? I hope I got it.
His streak is a very long streak. It's gone so far, it's gone past that other page on Sherdog. So
I said 9. I don't think that's far off. I think it's probably close to that.
But he hasn't really fought an elite fighter that I think Renato Moicano is at. His probably only big victory that you can consider would be against Andre Fili. Just trying to think of his name. Andre Fili, who we know is a good fighter. So yeah, I think. Well, I say he's a good fighter. He's an inconsistent fighter.
Yeah.
So I think, in my opinion, Renato Moicano gets the victory in this one. I think he decisions him. Yeah, I think Moicano's going to get.
So we're switching it up. We're picking different fighters. Look at that.
Co-main event is up next. You've got Rose Namajunas taking on Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Namajunas, the champ, probably had one of the biggest upset wins in UFC history. Her and Matt Serra. A lot of comparisons have been going on at the moment. A lot of people have been saying about Namajunas potentially. Is it a Matt Serra type of situation I've been reading?
Not good for her if that's the case.
Do you know what? I don't see it going that way. I see Rose beating her again.
Do you?
Yeah, I see Rose getting a decision win.
I think that this fight, Joanna wins, and we get the third match.
Oh, okay.
I think we get three fights out of this. I think that Joanna decisions her. I don't think she finishes her. Just because it's tough. I mean, at 115 pounds, strawweight is tough to get. I mean, unless
Well, we saw the knockout power by Namajunas, which is whoa.
I mean, you did, and that's obviously adds to why that fight was so crazy. The fact that most people thought if she wins, she'd probably sub her or decision her.
I don't remember if I told you, but when we were discussing the fight originally when it happened, I was picking Rose.
You definitely were. I
really like Namajunas. Like I said earlier, with the Pat Barry situation,
she's an enjoyable fighter. She's an enjoyable fighter. But like I said, man, although Joanna's trash talk is cringy, I'm a stickler for trash talk, man. I just love it. I don't know what it is about it. I love it. So you got Rose?
Yeah, I got Rose by decision. Decision or sub late on. It's one or the other. I can't think.
I got a Joanna decision. I think Joanna does Joanna stuff and just shows why she's one of the greatest fighters in the world at the moment. Shows why she's one of the greatest fighters in the world. Why she's an amazing
and why she's ranked in the pound-for-pound rankings and Rose is
exactly.
Main event time. Tony Elkakui Ferguson is taking on Khabib the Eagle Nurmagomedov.
Khabib Tiramisu Nurmagomedov. Big fight.
If this fight happens, like I said, it is going to be one of the best skill matchups the UFC has ever seen.
Yeah.
But I'm really terrified it's not going to happen. So
as is everyone else.
A controversial pick is it's not going to happen. Or a controversial pick probably it is going to happen.
Yeah. It's funny that one that you could say that it is going to happen and people are like,
no, it's not.
Let's hold back on that.
But yeah, I think it's a really difficult fight to pick. You've got Kukui, who is one of the most awkward fighters on the ground you can fight. He throws submissions out from whatever position he's in. And then you've got Khabib, who is, from the Abel Trujillo fight, he has been flawless.
He just grinds people out. I mean, he not grinds them out, sorry, he just presses them out of fights. The guy is something else. And that's why I've got him for this fight. I just think he's an absolute animal. I think he's probably the best lightweight in the world. I think he gets it done. I think he finishes him.
Yes, see, now, and that's where we're going to go different, because I think the complete opposite. I think Tony Ferguson finishes him. I think Tony taps him. I think he gets one of them ankles. We know Khabib's had injuries before, and we know he struggles with weight cuts. So say Khabib struggles with this weight cut. Say he gets tired late on or early on.
Yeah. It
Tony,
could be a tough night
with his awkward way that he fights,
his guard and everything.
Khabib could do anything. Could you imagine?
My thing is just that I feel as if Kevin Lee had some success, not much. He obviously ended up losing the fight against Tony Ferguson. I think Khabib's just on a different level to these other people. I think he just gets it done. He puts on too much pressure. That's what I'm hoping for anyway.
Either way, I think the fight is so difficult to call that it is the biggest fight the UFC could make.
I think both picks that we've made, I think most people would disagree with them. I think most people would think it's a decision.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Yeah, because you can't. Khabib's never been in the situation where you're like, oh, Khabib's going to get finished here.
Yeah.
Well, apart from potentially the Michael Johnson fight with the stand-up, when he was getting caught by him, and could that be something Ferguson uses? Because Ferguson, on his feet, stood with Edson Barboza.
He did, but the thing with Ferguson also gets caught.
Yeah.
He gets caught, so I think Khabib, he's awkward. Khabib's not orthodox either. He's awkward with his strikes as well. It doesn't look great most of the time, if we're being honest.
It's just to set up the takedown.
Yeah, it is basically. I mean, and on the ground he's another beast. So it'll be an interesting one to watch. I don't think it's going to be a crazy barn burner.
I think it's going to be.
But it's going to be a fun one.
Everyone's going to be on the edge of their seat, waiting for what's going to happen. Because at any time Ferguson could whip his legs up, get an armbar, whip his legs up, hit a Darce choke.
Exactly.
That.
I mean, people that watch MMA, the quote unquote hardcore fans, we know what it is. We know what it's about. We know that this is the only fight that you have to make.
It's the fight.
There's a reason that even though it's fallen through a bunch of times before.
I think it's the 6th time it's been rebooked.
Even though that's the case, you have to make this fight. No one was batting an eyelid when they said that they're going to make this fight. Everyone was down for it.
When it was said, Tony Khabib, UFC 223, biggest card.
Cool. You were just like, that has to be the fight.
So, I think Ferguson wins. I think this sets up a massive fight with McGregor over in Ireland, Croke Park. Do it. I don't care.
Or Khabib in Russia, fella.
Khabib
in Russia.
Could you imagine?
Either way, it's Significant Connor's
McGregor would die. I think McGregor would be taken up by the government before the fight even happens.
Yeah, he's poisoned or some shit. MI5 have to look into it. He's meant to be at the fights though.
Oh, okay.
He's meant to
I
be
really
at the fights.
hope. Can you afterwards? McGregor comes into the octagon, stares whoever down.
Be awkward. It'll be awkward just because I think Tony for me is a little bit cringy. So if Tony wins
Get some
and he's in there,
sunglasses. Also.
yeah, I hope he doesn't have the sunglasses in. We made fun of Kevin Lee's sunglasses earlier. Tony's Oakleys are something else. He needs to get rid of them. Let's be real. I mean, the Oakleys, the chin, not the chin strap. I'm sure he's had a chin strap in the
Yeah,
past.
the
goatee, the blonde highlights. I mean, it's a tough look.
Well, I can't wait to see Tony come in with that blonde streak in his hair.
It could be just be shaven,
Shaved,
up.
yeah.
Oh, goodness.
But some mental news: it could become the first Muslim to ever win a title in UFC.
It's a big one. I mean,
I didn't know
also
that. I
surprising.
saw it the other day.
I mean, it's crazy considering the fact that the world's got plenty of Muslims, and it's weird just how no one else has managed to reach these heights.
Yeah.
I think they've also got difficulties because they can't fight year round. Most of them won't fight during Ramadan and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you also have difficulties in medications and stuff like that. They can't take every medicate. I mean, medicine they can do because religiously you're allowed to, but it's crazy considering.
Yeah, but either way, it's a massive fight. So I'm going Tony by sub.
Could be by TKO. Grounds him out.
So that is going to be it then for the first episode of the MMA Flashback podcast. I want to thank you all for listening. We're going to be on the YouTube. We're going to be splitting up all the different segments into little things. So each news article potentially splitting each one up. We're going to be splitting the picks up, and splitting up the Flashback podcast. Then we're going to upload the whole thing as well as a whole. So if you have enjoyed this, please go ahead and click subscribe if you haven't already. We're going to be doing podcasts potentially weekly, every 2 weeks, depending on how many we can get out.
How it goes. Yeah.
If we get time off, etc. So thank you very much for watching / listening at home. I've been your host, James.
And I've been Livio.
Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you guys soon.
Awesome.